How have you been, man?
I've been good. It's been quite a change, but it's been really good. It's been a lot more stable, I guess I should say.
Nice. So that happened in 2025, right?
Yes, 2025. I started in September at my new job at the Huntsman.
Cool. I'll give us a quick preamble just to kind of like set an architecture to what we're doing, and then we can go any direction after that, but some sort of map. Chris and I, a lot has changed for us too. We're seeking distribution for the film with culinary institutions like Kaiser, FSU Deadman, etc. And we have some things going, which is exciting. But in the meantime, we're trying to build up this YouTube channel to be like as effective as possible for people like you. And talking to aspiring chef owners, I think, is especially important. So just wanted to express some gratitude to you for letting us annoy you and text you like 1,000 times and get you on here. You're the man.
Of course, no problem. I enjoy these interviews. They're fun.
Great. Well, yeah, so I had some notes here, just kind of settling in at the Huntsman, hear about how everything's been going. Then we can kind of think about kind of a reflection on 2025, what you felt like you learned, how you changed, etc. And then back to the present, sort of what's feeling challenging or unclear at this part of the journey. Should be really interesting to talk about. And then wanted to get into some like day-to-day stories, like nothing too big or too small. Like even if you like notice a roach in the corner, like smash it with your foot, or like super cool like experience with a chef, customer, whatever. And then we can do a little more reflection and kind of look ahead, and we can take that any way we want. So any questions before we get started? Cool. Chris, anything you want to say before we kick off? Dope. Okay, cool. So take us through, kind of like we were talking about, how long have you been at the Huntsman? And what does your role kind of look like now day to day?
So I started late September. So I've been there for 4 months now, and they hired me on in a prep position. So I'm basically just going in before their service starts, and me and one other person are just doing all the prep for the menu. I think originally they were going to hire me on as the prep manager, so doing ordering and prep lists and stuff like that. But then they kind of switched it around, just because having someone brand new do that position without knowing their menu, knowing their recipes, knowing all that, it can be kind of just not very efficient, because I have to have a firm grasp on like what the plan is essentially before like I'm the one ordering the food. That's what I got on. And it's been a lot of fun just doing full prep, because I did prep at Leon's, as well as service and caterings and stuff like that. But this prep is a lot different in the sense that there's a lot more to do, in a smaller amount of time. So just learning that sense of urgency was a bit of a struggle at first. And just not kind of being confident with the recipes or the way that they like to do things or stuff like that. But after I think 2-3 weeks, I was starting to kind of get the rhythm going, and then it started to be a lot more fun, a lot less challenging. And then I kind of got to get in a place where I could kind of compete with myself more, rather than just like trying to like stay over water and stay, just in where they wanted me to be, basically. But yeah.
Thanks for sharing. So you said you had to adapt to a new level of urgency?
Yes. So it was, there was definitely a sense of urgency at Leon's, especially on the line when we were very busy, but there was breaks. There was like time where you could like have a little second and reset. And in the position I was at Leon's, I feel like I got there when we were first starting up, I had a pretty good grasp of like the overall kind of like situation with like what we were doing with the menu and all of that stuff. Whereas when I first came in at the Huntsman, it was very all new to me. And I guess it's hard to tell you all of the ways to like be more efficient, because like every little efficiency helps when you're in the kitchen and there's a huge prep list there. Like even as much as just like grabbing all the containers at once, going here and bringing out ingredients for 2 recipes instead of one, or making a bulk batch. And like every little thing like that makes you more efficient. But also, if you don't have that overlook and you're not going into it being like, okay, I want to do this as quick as possible, I want to do this as fast as possible, you're just going to go in and you're going to be cutting up a bunch of vegetables really slowly. You're going to spend 2 hours on it, and then you have nothing done in 2 hours. So having that, I guess, sense of urgency would just be broken into part of, like, with like thinking ahead, thinking about what the next step is, while also just making sure you're not slowing down your pace in like the current task you're doing, like in that moment. So that was a bit of a change. But when you're in that, I guess that flow state, I guess you could say, would be like a more relevant term. It feels really good because you're getting a lot done, and you can feel that you're getting a lot done, um, and you know you're improving.
Nice. And do you remember the first time you felt that flow state at Huntsman? Like, can you like take us back to that moment?
Not really. It's more so like it's more of a build up. It's like one week you're spending far too long doing this one task, and then one of the sous chefs or head chefs is like, "Hey, let's speed it up," and you're like, you don't even really realize that you're doing it. Like you just kind of get into a rhythm, but if that rhythm isn't quick, then you're taking too long. And I think it's just like over time, over every week, you start seeing little things that you can improve on, and eventually you just kind of realize that you're actually moving fast and you're getting more stuff done.
That's badass. Have you had like sort of a direct mentor, or is it more so like a group of men or women that you look up to? Or have you sort of found this person where you're like, all right, he or she is really, on their shit, has a really nice pace to their work, etc.
I mean, I think everywhere, or the majority of the staff there, all have really good pace. It seems like they're excited to be there. They know what they need to do. Just like seeing that professionalism had a good impact on me. And the head chef, Skylar, sous chef, Jim, of course, like you can just tell that, they go home with this job. Like they're not, it doesn't stop when they leave the kitchen. They're going home and they're thinking about all of the things that are going to go into the next day and next week, next month, and just seeing that preparation, and it's very inspiring, and they definitely are good mentors when it comes to stuff like that.
Very cool. We've learned that mentorship is extremely important part of the game. I'm sure you know that well too at this point. But just a little before we move on, like how would you describe the Huntsman? I was doing some reading about it online. I haven't eaten there myself, but what's the concept?
I think the concept would be more exotic meats and preparations for food. Chef Skylar is an incredible person, and he just has all of this knowledge about different regions of the world and how they make their recipes. Like every new menu, I'm learning something new about somewhere else just through their food. And then we also have a lot of kind of wild game that we use for like the basis of those recipes. Like we're using like antelope or red deer or octopus, bunch of different seafoods. Uh, and then, I mean, we also have a lot of good selection of steaks. I mean, he uses those more exotic cuts of meat um, into dishes from around the world. I don't know how I would describe that, but it's just like he's hitting all the marks. he's hitting all the places, and using these cuts to do it.
Got it. So I'm sensing like sort of an eclectic, I mean, hence the name Huntsman, big game you might hunt from around the world. What's like the most exotic thing on the menu?
I mean, for me, I think the wildest thing, 'cause I had never seen it before, was probably the rabbit. I was breaking down a bunch of rabbits, and I was like, oh, wow. I didn't think, like, I know rabbit stew in certain video games, but I have never seen that in real life, or just on a menu. So that was interesting. I mean, they have like rabbit, boar, yeah, just a lot of stuff that I've never seen in Tallahassee, at very least.
Interesting. I kind of smirked when you said exotic meats, honestly, because I don't hear those two words next to each other much. It's just kind of funny.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, thanks for sharing that. Let's get into like when you look back, like as you're reflecting on 2025 now with this new experience where you're surrounded by this level of professionalism that's kind of pushing you to be your best. Like, what do you feel like you like? Is there a particular experience from last year that like really shaped you the most?
I think last year there was like 2 months where I was essentially out of a job without realizing it, and then I was, deciding on like what to do after that. And I don't know, it was very, it felt like I was having like a burnout, and I was not like doing the things, I wasn't enjoying work. It was very unstable. I didn't feel comfortable like financially. And I was like, just trying to work together, like why I was doing all this stuff, and like, is this the path I want to take? It's not a very stable path. Um, there's no real guide to how to become, you know, what I want to do. And it was a bad experience, but it was a learning experience. And I kind of got to just kind of think about like what my values are, why, try to like go back into my head before I, started culinary school and made the decision to do that. And when I first had my um, first cooking job back in high school, and just kind of try to get back to those core values. That was the whole reason I started that stuff. And I mean, a couple of them were like, just becoming a part of a team, or becoming part of something bigger than what I could achieve on my own. I mean, I see the Huntsman as this, like, although not perfect, but pretty close to perfect machine. That's, you got, 20 plus people all working together, doing different jobs and playing different roles. And having gotten to actually eat there and experience the end product of that, it's amazing to see, you know, all the thought that goes into it, and how, every single person there is putting in that effort to give this experience to the customers. I mean, that's another value I have, is like providing comfort through food would be a big one for me. I remember growing up, like all my memories that I have of like me and my grandparents are like, we're sitting down at a table, we're eating, shepherd's pie or stuffed shells, or having cookies, or just like that kind of food. When I make it now, like I immediately just feel like, just like a very good feeling inside. And giving that to other people and letting them experience that comfort is pretty important to me. And trying to give that to other people through, this bigger not machine, but bigger, can't think of a word, but I think you know what I mean. And then also, I think a big thing was trying to like compete with yourself. I did that because I did rock climbing for, I think, like 8 years, and that's a sport where you're constantly competing with yourself and you're trying to become better. And I think that kind of went over to my current job, which is, you know, making food, and just getting really good at every single task, no matter how dumb it is. You see the cat going crazy back there, and just learning to be better at every task that I can every day, and then, learning from all those experiences, that those values kind of, brought me back, and made me realize that, why I'm doing this. And I was very fortunate enough to get the job at the Huntsman when one of their prep managers was leaving. So I think that was a very fortunate timing for me. Um, and now I get to work in this amazing place every week. So that was definitely the most challenging and most, I guess, centering experience of last year.
Sounds like you handled it with a lot of maturity. So hats off to you. Also, just want to note that your just sense of wanting to like provide, I think, is a very like refreshingly masculine thing to hear someone your age say. So, just wanted to commend you for that. Uh, that's really cool that that's like one of your main values. And that's definitely going to take you a very long way. Not to just be like act like I'm like some 56-year-old like sage right now, but I just wanted to point that out. Um, so, was there an inflection point when you started to feel like you did belong there at the Huntsman?
That's a great question because that was also one of the things I was struggling with a lot when I first started there was I felt because it's hard to measure where you're at in this job, in this line of work, because you might think you know a lot, and you walk into a kitchen and they're doing things completely different, and you're trying to figure out like, is this better different or is it just different? And then you see people moving faster than you, and it's hard to get over that feeling that you don't belong there. And I was struggling with that for a month into that job. Well, it felt like I just got lucky. Like I landed the job out of pure luck because, when you're first starting, you're making mistakes. And, you know, obviously I'm learning from those mistakes and I become better from those mistakes. But at the time, you're like messing up, going slow, everyone's moving fast. And you're like, oh my gosh, like maybe I shouldn't be here. Maybe I wasn't ready. So getting over that mental wall of, you're not ready for this and just kind of, taking your punches and learning from them. And fortunately, Chef Sky was very kind in whenever I'd mess up, and he would just show me the right way to do it if ever I messed up, and give me the opportunity to retry, restart, try again. And that gave me a lot more trust in him, a lot more respect. And I continued and I got better. And now I feel like I've kind of cemented myself in this job, and I feel like I'm doing good and I'm getting better. So that was definitely very, very hard to get past, but I'm glad I did.
Just I'm thinking about what you just said as far as, pointing out things, giving you opportunities for improvement. I think about leadership often, and especially parenting now, having a young son, and people often say like catch someone doing the right thing, point that out more than, feedback for doing something incorrectly. Have you noticed that with Chef Sky and his leadership style, where he'll compliment you or he'll have like a lot of gravitas in those moments of like pointing out something that you could do better? I just wonder that sort of distribution and how you think about that on the receiving end. Does that make sense? What I'm asking?
Yeah, yeah. I think there's definitely the side of it where he'll point out a better way to do something, and I respect, I like try it out, and usually he's right. As for the, I guess not compliment, but like him saying you're doing something correctly or stuff like that, I think there's less of that, but I can tell pretty well when like I've done a good job, and I think he thinks that I'm doing a good job. And I don't know whether that has anything to do with where he was learning at, or like what his chefs were teaching him or how they were doing. But I mean, I'm not, obviously it'd be nice to be like, oh, good job today, whatever. But I think having that self pressure to do well and to know when you did well versus, knowing when you did bad and being okay with that and learning from it and getting better. It's important to have that in yourself rather than receiving that from someone. Sorry. Because if you're focusing on yourself and you're doing a good job and you're doing a good job, you keep your standards high and keep working, they will see that you will move up and you will improve. And I think that's for, at least for me, just more important than trying to get, again, not compliments, but just gratitude from him for doing a good job.
I hear what you're saying, and I agree with you. Like, it's not like you're setting out to receive external validation. You're like looking to cultivate that kind of hunger within yourself and that drive to improve. Where do you think that that comes from? Like, uh, that sort of inner drive?
That's a hard question. I mean, I think just growing up, I felt like I needed to do a lot of stuff on my own, and I like I like a lot of things a certain way. I like being organized. I like being competitive, and I did a lot of sports as a kid, and that competitiveness, that kind of drive, I think translated over. And I mean, I know I just talked about, you know, yourself not wanting to do things for others' validation, but I think it was, I mean, granted, it was for my parents and my grandparents because I value them a lot because they are all very hardworking, very smart people. I wouldn't call this a traditional path by any means. So trying to, I guess, validate my decision in doing this was also a driving factor. I wanted to prove that this is something I can do and I'm going to do it well. And I'm going to get better at it.
I can definitely tell that you've got that dog in you. This is probably a good time to reveal my shirt.
You know, I saw that. I was gonna get that for my roommate, but I got a different shirt. But I probably can tell you after this interview.
This was admittedly an Instagram like ad that was very successful against me. But in all seriousness, you clearly do. When we think about like today and looking in retrospect, like what's something that you like clearly struggled with before that now is just in your back pocket, like something that's really second nature to you?
Um, I mean, task wise, like very specific task wise, I think it took me 2 hours, not 2 hours, maybe 2 hours to get through a case of duck and process them all down, cook off the bones, get all that stuff. And now it takes me like 15 minutes to do all that. And just like, I don't know, my pace and my organization just overall I can see I've improved a lot just in repetition. And I mean, that everything in the kitchen, aside from just knowledge of, cuisines, you can get so incredibly good at with just repetition, just doing it over and over and over and over, um, and seeing the little things that can make it a little faster. For example, with the duck, learning. I mean, I've probably done like 200 ducks by now, and every time you do one, you get a little bit closer to the bone. You're getting more meat. You're getting more in between the bones. You're not cutting the bones. You're getting through them. You're cutting right through them. It's faster, and you're learning how to like pull tension, and you're learning how to like get the skin off while you're cutting the meat off. It like every little thing I learned from each iteration of doing it. Like you get the output. Now you have the output just by looking at the time. You're done in 15 minutes. You have time to do everything else. Like every recipe, every task is like that. If you do it enough, you'll see the difference and you'll see what you can do better, even if it's just a small, tiny little thing.
So recently, think about like a chaotic day you've had in the past couple weeks and sort of just unpack that for us moment to moment if possible.
And I think last Monday was probably the busiest prep shift we've had, so at least I've had so far. And recently, because of that, I had my coworker who has an earlier shift send me the prep list. So in case there's that much on there, I get in a little earlier. But I got in, and it's very intimidating. You're looking at this list, you're looking at things that take, 2 hours at least on their own, and then there's like five of them, and then there's a bunch of tasks that don't take as long, and there's a bunch of tasks that are quick, and just kind of sorting through that, it can be stressful. Having done slightly smaller lists, you kind of get an idea of the thought process behind it. You're getting all of your passive time items out of the way, like you're pulling your meats to thaw out. You're getting any kind of super easy passive items out of the way, like croutons. They're gonna sit in the oven for 15 minutes. Any kind of food that has that kind of long cook time, like confit duck, you just wash off the cure, put it in with the duck fat, and throw it in the oven for 2.5 hours. By getting that done immediately, I am now able to work on another thing and another thing and another thing until I'm like, I have like 5 or 6 things going, but I'm only working on one actively. Everything's cooking at the same time, but I'm only doing this one thing. And I think one of the struggles that day was trying to, toe that line between like, doing 4 things, but not messing up because I'm doing 4 things. Like if you added another item that day to whatever I was doing in that hour, I probably would have messed a lot of things up. And just like trying to figure out that timing of like how much can I do in this amount of time? Like what can I pair together? What's gonna go good together while I'm prepping them? Like, okay, this takes a little bit longer to cook. I can get that done first, then I can move on to this, start the cooking process on that, and just kind of working your way through and thinking about it not as a whole prep list, just kind of like an hour by hour, just like look at the prep list, figure out what your big items are, and then just start going, okay, this hour I'm gonna like try to get this, this, and this, and then keep keep going, keep pushing, try to keep that sense of urgency up. You want to be fast. Obviously precision is great, but learning on what you need to be precise on versus what you don't need to be precise on is helpful. I mean, I couldn't tell you all what I did that day. It was kind of just a blur. It was just a bunch of food for the new menu. But I know I got out like we were finished prepping by the time service came, and it was very, very, close call, but we got it all done by 5 o'clock. Chef Skylar gave me a high five, which I think that's like the most gratitude he's given me so far. That's how I knew, we did a good job that day. And then I think 2 hours after that, I was done cooling off and packaging and putting away all the food after we'd done cooking it. So that was a very intense day, but I think it has to do also with it being a new menu. I haven't really cooked those recipes as much, but I think if we have that same menu, exact same menu, next week, I'd be a little faster, get done a little sooner. But it was intense. It was hard, but after you're done with it, you feel good. You feel like you've done something great.
In a situation like that where you look at the prep, like the menu, and that initial sort of anxiety sets in of like, oh, like pressure's on, like I don't have much time. Is that besides like running out of time, what are some of the things that can actually go wrong? And if you have like, if you could also comment on like what's then if something goes wrong, what's like the best decisive move to mitigate that situation? You know what I mean?
So I think, yeah, yeah. I think a lot of the times it has to do with like missing ingredients or produce that didn't get delivered, stuff like that. And usually you'll figure that out pretty early in the morning. Just when like you look at the order and there's like a zeroed out item, that means they didn't have it, didn't deliver it. And in that case, we would just message the sous chef or head chef and see what they want to do about it. Fortunately, like we're not, I guess the position we're in, we can kind of move that issue over to them and see what they want to do to proceed with stuff like that. Other times where it's like, they're missing something, but like you can just substitute it with something else. Those are the main things that we run into a lot. Would just be ingredients that we're missing, and most of the time we can just do like there's a whole list of prep to do, so we can just focus on other stuff and just wait for that ingredient to either get delivered or for them just to be like, we're just going to run with this amount of stuff tonight and we'll get it in tomorrow. So that's usually what we deal with. Other than that, it's obviously mistakes you made, like burning something or undercooking something. And when you burn something, it sucks. You got to do it again. You might not have the ingredients. You might have to wait to get the ingredients, but it happens. You're doing a lot of stuff. You're doing a lot of stuff quickly. Not making a habit of it is just, what you got to focus on, trying to make sure you're pacing yourself right. But whenever that happens, you just let the head chef know, like, hey, I just burned this, or hey, I just messed this up. And then, see what he wants to do to proceed it. He'll either tell you to redo it again, or he'll be like, actually, it's fine. It's not that bad. We're going to run it tonight and make it over tomorrow. That's the main issues we run into. sometimes when we run out of time, we're just there a little bit later and we just finish the prep out. But the this place is very secure and organized, and they've dealt with this stuff a bunch. So it's like, even though it sucks, it happens. They've dealt with it. They've dealt with worse.
Don, I just want to check in with you on timing, Joey. We're at 45 minutes now. Do you need to go or can you go a little longer?
I'm all good here for probably
Okay,
another
cool.
30 minutes.
I didn't know if you had to go hunt like a bison or something for work.
Yeah, next week's gotta go get some octopus and salmon and some lions, but yeah.
Has there been like a small interaction lately with either a chef or a coworker or even a customer that kind of stuck with you as a special moment?
I think recently when the other prep chef changed his shift, I got a little frustrated because it meant that I was gonna be there most likely later, and the produce wasn't there when he got there, so I was making a bigger deal out of it than I should have, and I talked to the sous chef about it, but then after I did that, I kind of realized that I just needed to kind of focus on myself. I don't need to worry about the managerial side of it. They know what they're doing, and but they will handle it. They will figure out any problems like that. And all I needed to do is just go in, do my best work, and continue to do that. And that was gave me a good perspective shift on what I'm doing there, which was helpful to me because now I kind of feel like I can focus better on what I need to do, which is just do my best every single day.
Nice. I appreciate yet another example of your just like maturity. Did you end up staying later that day?
Yeah. Yep. I did. I stayed late. Probably like 3 or 4 days out of that week. But again, I trust the management here, and I trust that they can handle it and figure out ways to solve it.
Tell me if this is too personal of a question, but do you make overtime when you have to stay late, or do you just like have to suck it up and work more hours?
Just suck it up and work more hours because I'm on salary at this position. So 9 to 5 is my job, when I have to be there. Anytime past that, it's just me wanting to finish the job and me wanting to kind of, I guess, I don't know, give back for the opportunity that I've been given. Like everyone there works hard, and I want to work hard too. If it means just staying a little later to really complete what I started that day, then that's fine with me.
Respect. Can we talk about what you think about the word success and maybe how that definition has changed for you in the past year or so?
Yeah. And I think previously success has just been just based on what my goals were, which were to, get in a job that, sustain me financially, get in a job that gives me the creativity. And it was more so, success was more so like a list of things that I wanted to get checked off and like certain goals to reach. But now I'm kind of seeing it more as success is like the closer I can get to having reality match my core values and match why I'm doing this, the more what I'm doing matches up with those values, the closer that gets, that's how I'm valuing success. If I can really provide comfort through food and continue to compete with myself and be a part of something bigger, and if I can get to those values, the whole reason I started, in a job, whatever situation I'm in, then that's how I'm starting to see success.
Beautifully put. When we think about the future, no specific year amount, but what is really exciting to you about the future and what makes you a bit nervous or trepidatious?
I think I'm definitely looking forward to like how good I'll be in the future, like, and trying to like seeing how far I've come basically and just gaining that experience. I look forward to that, and I'm looking forward to just get better and become better, become more knowledgeable. I think the biggest thing about the future is just trying to keep from burning out, kind of doing, enough life stuff to where I'm not only my job. You know, I still have friends and see family, and I think this job can be pretty all consuming if you let it. You can do it all day, take it home, and just continue to do more. Also, balancing my time is something I need to be wary of in the future. I think I'm doing an okay job at it right now. Um, but I can see I've experienced burnout. I've seen other people burn out and leave and just be like, I'm done with this. I can't handle this. This is just not, enjoyable. Every now and again, kind of taking a step back and seeing where you're at and seeing where you want to be, and really just doing a whole full body scan of like, is this what I want to be doing? Is this the right step? And I'm not saying like overthink it, not get in your head about it, but just being realistic with your expectations for the job and, you know, how close that is for or to where you want to be, in the future. And I think that's been a bit of a struggle. I've worked my first job, and there was a lot of upper management owner issues at that job. And even though I loved the people there and the team was great and hardworking, there was no movement for growth. And if you get stuck, if you just stay there and if you get complacent there, you're not going to move up and you're not going to feel good. You're going to get burnt out. You're just standing in a bad situation, but you're scared to move into a good one. And I mean, that was the same with my second job. I was nervous about leaving. I thought this was the best I could do, but I changed up scenery, and now I'm a lot more happy. And I think that just having that reflection every now and again is a good thing to have, and knowing where you're at.
Are you still seeing a path to chef ownership one day?
I think so. Again, I've struggled with the whole like, am I good enough thing, just getting into this job. So I think I'll have to kind of overcome that, self-confidence. But, I'm getting more and more confidence every week, every month. So I do see it happening eventually. But I think before that, I'd kind of have to find more of a focus, like what my goal would be. Because, I mean, I don't, if I'm gonna be a chef and owner, that's gonna be everything I'm doing for all of my time. So I need a solid foundation for why I would be doing that. And yeah, I would just need a good, solid, I guess mission statement for, getting into that role.
Understood. Yeah, it's almost like build a really solid foundation and then you can put a ladder on top of that and kind of go wherever you want. Well, thank you so much for your time and insights. This is super helpful. It's going to make our YouTube channel better. Hopefully some other people can watch it and be one step ahead from hearing you kind of think publicly on this. So really appreciate you. And just a couple final questions would be, this is pretty specific, but like, since producing this film about, that's supposed to be for the benefit of aspiring chef owners, Chris and I have realized it's pretty hard to understand which media channels that aspiring chef owners watch on a consistent basis or read. And I think that's because the aspiring chef owner group is like such an eclectic mix. So I'm wondering like which, whether it's YouTube channels, books, radio, any like media, which channels are you using to level up in culinary, and what do you find interesting?
I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but I've definitely grown up more on YouTube, so I'm definitely watching a lot more chefs that are on YouTube and, you know, shorts and stuff like that. So that for me at least, I like getting that kind of information on YouTube, definitely.
Have you seen the content from owner?
I don't believe so.
I'll text it to you after this call. It's really good and like directly for you. And then what would you tell someone that's just starting out?
I think the biggest piece of advice is to just focus on yourself, focus on getting better. Don't worry about the work trauma. There's always work trauma, and to be okay with making mistakes and learning from them. If you can do those things and just keep going, and you'll get to a place where you want to be.
Boom. Well, thank you again so much Joey, and hope to talk to you again soon. We'll check back in with you probably closer to the end of Q1. I think we have sort of a backboard on the project to be wrapped up this year, so we'll make sure and check in with you before then. But other than that, stay safe, keep working hard, and thanks for your time.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.